Hello, guys. Welcome aboard the Saturday Blether. It's me, Conor Carr. Apologise, there's no intro. I'm just getting used to this thing, starting up shows and doing shows and that. I'm fiddling about with things. I was quite late coming in, so I do apologise. So I'm a bit of a new face doing this. You're usually used to seeing David, guys like Rieger and that. So this is the kind of the new crew now, at least for today, doing it. So I'm joined today by your old Uncle Terry and Pam, who's joining me today for the first time. How are you doing, guys? You okay?
All good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Are you, Terry?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. I was just checking today. Where Celtic's first game back, I think, is 4 weeks yesterday. So with 2 weeks of cold turkey, another four to go, and then the boys are back playing again.
I know. So, guys, before we get stuck into all the topics and stuff today, I will just say if you guys can please like, share, subscribe, share the bus far and wide with your friends and family. We do appreciate it. And if we can also become a Bhoycie Bus member for the low fee of $1.99 a month, it's a totally optional fee. It's just if you want to help the guys out on the bus and help me also get a hair transplant as well while we're at it. So, get me a trip to Turkey and all. Yeah, you can also use the code BUS1888 on piesports.com if you guys want to do that. That is our sponsor for today and always has been, besides the Viagra one before. But we don't do that anymore. So, yep, piesports.com, use the code BUS1888 at the checkout, and you can use piesports.com. Okay? Piesports.com, BUS1888 if you want to have 1% off your tasty pastry treats order. Now, guys, getting stuck into it, we've got a couple of things to talk about. The title for today is Deals, Danes and Dinosaurs. So I kind of wanted to discuss that because I got notes for once. I took a big notebook full of notes for things, trying to be a bit more professional, which doesn't usually work out very well. So we've got some topics to discuss today. Starting off, we'll talk about the signings of Paulo Bernardo and Adam Ida. So I'll start off with you, Terry. I don't know if you'd heard much about it. Looks to be like we're going to be signing Paulo Bernardo, at least permanently. Celtic look to be kind of jigging about the deal, trying to get things a little bit cheaper than what they originally paid for. I know Mark and Russell had a really good conversation about it the other night on TNF. I'm just wondering what your opinion on it is and the whole deal and the whole structure, if you're in favour of it. If you're not, what you think about Celtic going back, possibly on the price and stuff like that.
Bernardo was one that I just kept changing my mind on. For the first half of the season, I just couldn't understand what his role was. I just didn't know what type of midfielder is he. I just, he played games and he was quietly effective, but I just couldn't say is he a 6, is he an 8, is he a 10? What is he? Because I just didn't see enough of him, and when we did see when he was playing, he was quietly effective as opposed to, taking any kind of game by the scruff of the neck. Now there were a few times towards the end of the season there were moments where he took the game by the scruff of the neck, but this is totally different from the Carter Vickers and the Jota loan deals, where you knew straight away what you'd got with Carter Vickers, and you knew after a few weeks what you got with Jota, and you knew that you wanted those guys to come in permanently in the next year. And if we think back to that summer, we were all sort of talking, which one do you think we'll get? Because you didn't think the board would go out and make both happen, and thankfully they did. And I know we only got another year out of Jota, but we also got a hell of a lot of cash back for him. But with Bernardo, and we'll move on to Ida next, but if we focus on Bernardo, I'm kind of like, whether we did a deal or not, whatever, there were flashes for me to think, yeah, he's a good enough player. He can come in, he can do a job for us. He's not a young kid, but he is still relatively young, I suppose. It feels as if this deal's going to get done. The sound bites feel as if it's going to be done. It feels as if it's going to be done at a little bit less. I mean, my thoughts on the fee is, what we're led to believe is that it was a loan with an option to buy at approximately 6 million. We're well within our rights to not take that option and then put in a bid at a different amount. I don't see that there's any issue with that. It would be totally different if this was a mandatory, where we had agreed you will sign this player for 6 million, and then Celtic are starting to renege on that. It was an option to buy at 6. We've decided not to take that option. However, we've decided to then put in a bid at 3.5, at 4, whatever. I mean, put it like this: the deal won't be happening unless Benfica are happy with what they're getting. But Benfica, as a seller club, are renowned across the world for the kids that they bring through. They'll have no problem selling the guy if they think he's worth more. They'll have no problem selling him. I'd say whatever he comes in for, there'll be a hefty sell-on fee again. And yeah, it's one of those ones. I'm not really excited about it, but at the same time, I'm not against it. I think he showed enough in flashes that he could do a job for us, but I hope it's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what the summer holds for us.
Yeah, so how do you feel about it, Pam? How would you think about it?
Kind of similar to Terry. I mean, I'm not dreading it, but I'm not as enthusiastic as I would be if we got Ida. I don't think Bernardo's a bad player. I just don't think I personally see him play in the position that most suits him the best, to be honest. I think he's still one of those players that still needs to find what he does best. And, we have seen flashes of brilliance from him, but I've also seen quite a bit of mediocrity from him this season as well, this half season, excuse me. And, I just, I think I'm still going to need more time to warm up to him. But so far, he's definitely not a disaster, but he's also far from the full ticket as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, the way I think about it, the way I look at it is, I said this before, this you can't base it on these 3 games alone, but you look at the last 3 games against Rangers. If he doesn't play, we don't win those games. If he doesn't come on, at least to make those impacts, we don't win those games. If he doesn't evade Rasker in the Scottish Cup final, make that a shot, and then spills to Ida, we don't win the Scottish Cup. If he doesn't, assist Ida in the game at Ibrox, we don't come away with a draw. That was a game for me where we basically won the league. At the game at Celtic Park, winter time, he scores the first goal in the 2-1 victory against Rangers. So, and he was good enough to start in the Champions League as well, which is why for me, I was questioning why is he good enough to start against Atletico Madrid and Lazio, but not against Ross County. That doesn't make sense to me. And to be honest, I think he's kind of been done dirty a wee bit, because in my opinion, since Rio Hatate has came back from injury, he's been a shadow of his former self. He's been like a man down for a lot of the games. He had a wee bit of a spark. You could see it when he first came back from injury, and since then he's just coasted by. And he did next to nothing kind of in that last run in at the bit of the season. He was still, getting games despite his poor lack of form. Well, that's down to, it being his injury. We have no idea. We could maybe put it to that and just hope for the best that next season he kicks on to back being the old Rio Hatate. On the case of Adamida, the rumours are not as concrete. However, I think he's the one that everybody in here, everybody in the chat, everybody is absolutely desperate to sign. But when you look at it, he's probably going to be one of the last ones in the door, because I think it looks as if he's more than likely going to go for a pre-season with Norwich, and he's got the international games to play with the Republic of Ireland. I seen he scored the other night as well, which was great as well. He's really, really stepped up. Obviously, I think even if he doesn't sign, I think this loan Celtic he's had could set his career up, to be totally honest. I think it's probably gave him a bit of a rejuvenation, as it were. And if I'm really honest, guys, Terry, I'm desperate to sign him, and I really hope that we don't, like with the Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers ones, it doesn't drag on for the whole window and we're just eventually waiting, and then that's we're the only ones we get in. You could see it now that come like the 1st of September or whatever, we've only signed Bernardo and Ida and gotten a loan from like the Czech league or something like that, a 17-year-old boy who plays left wing or something like that. But what do you think about it, mate? You wanted to sign him?
I think going back to Bernardo, I think whenever I'll be able to evaluate how I feel about us signing Bernardo is at the end of the window, when I know what else we've done. Because if I look at this from the player's perspective, the reason he came out from Benfica was because of lack of game time. Now, he made loads of appearances for Celtic, but he didn't start an awful lot of games. So if this deal, as we're led to believe, is moving closer, what's he being promised? What's in it for him? Because he's already been at a club where he's not got starts. He's then gone to Celtic where he's got action, but probably not as many starts as he would have expected to get going out on loan. What is his role come the end of this window? Because we do have O'Reilly, we do have Hatate, and as much as I take on board what you've said there, we know that Hatate's a class act, and at various stages when he's had to come back from injury, he's been a slow burner. But we know the quality we've got with him. We know what we've got with McGregor, albeit he's like myself. He's getting a little bit grayer looking every time you see him. You know, Iwata has never let us down. Iwata was getting more game time than Bernardo towards the end of the season as well. Where does Daniel Kelly fit into all of this? We've got a kid here who is about to move into the last few months of his deal. He's been linked with teams in Germany. He's been linked with the big teams in England. Is this going to be another kid that we lose to one of these teams? Or where does Daniel Kelly fit into this piece? You know, is he at the level where he's going to be competing for game time? Does he even want to stay at Celtic? That's another question that needs to be answered. So I suppose to bring the Bernardo one to the end, I'm okay with it now. I'll sort of reassess how I feel about it at the end when I see what we're starting the season with, or certainly what we end the window with in terms of those midfield positions. Ida impressed me. He was better than I thought he was going to be. I'm still not. It's not one that I'm not totally excited. If it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. Again, the figures that we're talking about, 6 million if he comes in, and it's 6 million. The impact that he made, he changed games. When he came on, he did change games, and he definitely added a completely different dimension to Kyogo. I think he's actually someone who could push Kyogo for the first team jersey. Probably another conversation is some of these rumours around Kyogo. I wouldn't put it past Celtic to sell Kyogo now, because this is probably the last summer that you could get money for him. And if you were getting 10 or 15 offered for him, I just wouldn't put it past the Celtic board to go for him. So you could end up with no Kyogo in a couple of weeks' time. I definitely wouldn't. I'll put nothing past Celtic in terms of what they do to get going. Ida, if you're asking me, would I like it to happen? Yes. Will I lose sleep if it doesn't? No, I won't, because I think the money that you're now talking, 6 million upwards, I think we could go out and spend that money and get someone of similar ability. I mean, he didn't completely blow me away. He's a big, strong guy with a reasonable touch and looked as if he fell in love with the place. And if he signs, I'm happy with it. If he doesn't, then let's go and get somebody else. I'm probably coming across a bit negative now. I've been very happy for him to sign. He surprised me with the level of his ability. I actually watched a wee bit of the Ireland game the other night just because he was playing and because Liam Scales was in the squad. I just tend to watch internationals of the Celtic players playing, and I watched a wee bit of it, and he was reasonably impressive in that game as well. So I'd like it to happen, but not want to lose sleep around, because there's just a lot of variables on that one. I think the players made it clear that he would like to come back. The managers made it clear that he would like to have him. But Norwich have brought in a new manager. He's unlikely to make any snap judgments. It might be one that goes right down to the end of the window. Can we afford to wait that long? I don't know. You'll have seen the old line many times where we tried to get something done, but we ran out of time. I wouldn't want to be getting into the last week if we're still sitting. Say we have got Kyogo and O goes, and you're waiting for Adamida right till the very end of the window. I don't think we can afford to do that. My hope would be that it would be Ida plus another striker plus keeping Kyogo, but it's just this transfer window, like every transfer window, it's just a game of poker, and it's how long you're prepared to hold on to the cards that you've got, and when you decide to make your move. And the manager talked just after the January window about how he had identified reinforcements. Players had agreed to come, but the clubs had kiboshed them late in the window. And I suppose my thought pattern is, well, who are those players? Have we revisited that? Have we teed that up, ready to start?
Well,
and I can already gauge a little bit frustration from you in the chat that we haven't signed players yet, even though the window's not open yet. I think you're checking your phone every hour looking for signings.
I'm looking for news.
The recruitment team. We've known about the outgoings. We haven't heard so much about what that team looks like. That team isn't completely in place. That team should have been in place before now. I'll be really interested to see who we end up with as a goalkeeper, because Joe Hart handed in his notice 3 months ago. Celtic knew this would be his last season, last summer. We've already been trying to get a goalkeeper. I'm sure there's a list, and I know there's loads of names. And if I went out to the local Nike shop and bought a pair of gloves, I'd probably be in the back page of the Record in the morning, like they sell it if a pair of gloves. I'll be interested. That's the one I'm really interested to see, because we've had time to plan for this one, and it'll be interesting to see what we end up with.
Well, I'll talk about that later, because the rumours of a new goalkeeper are imminent. I'll get onto that. It's a very interesting topic, actually. But yeah, Pam, I feel like Terry's point of view may be a wee bit unpopular, especially with vast masses of the Celtic support. For me, I kind of disagree with Terry. I think he's a must-buy. I think he at least helps us next season continue our success domestically, possibly not in European competition, but I do think in terms of his instant impact, get a pre-season under him, get him in early doors, get him, even fitter, get him more used to the place, more new players, all the rest of it that comes with the pre-season, jiggery pokery, and he could, go levels up in my humble opinion. But I'm trying to know what your take on the situation is.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to yourself, Conor. For me, Ida's pretty much a must sign. Like I'd say I'm 90-95% sure that we should sign him. For me, I've called him the save our season man, because he has stepped up in those matches that we were really under pressure, those matches that were really like the cup games, win every single one of them. He has stepped up in the vast majority of them, and he has scored either, just a normal goal or a penalty. So it shows that he has the nerve to tackle the tough situation, which is somebody that we need. I think he's a different dimension to up front than Kyogo is, and I'm actually kind of agreeing with Terry on this. I would not be 100% surprised if we sold Kyogo this summer. I don't think he's fit into this new team makeup as well as I thought he would have. So if there was a time to get some money for him, it would be this summer. So I wouldn't be surprised either. But we definitely need the more physical dimension up in the forward line, and Ida does offer that. And we've seen what he can do. So it's not really this gamble of will they fit in, won't they fit in. We've seen what he can do. He presents himself nicely and he gets the job done. So for me, he is pretty much a must sign. However, I am dreading the same as yourself that this will drag on throughout the transfer window. And as the transfer window goes on and on, I think I will be starting to grow a few more white hairs in there.
Just to be clear, I would like us to sign him, but I just think this deal's going to be a harder one to do. And I don't want us to hold on till deadline day for Adam Ida. I think if it's not done in the next 4 weeks, we need to move on. That's probably where I'm at with it. If the deal can be done, I'd really like it to be done. If it's 6 million, 7 million, I think he's worth it. I suppose I'm just a bit more cautious that I think this deal would be more difficult, because if it was the old Norwich manager who clearly didn't rate him, then it could probably be signed, sealed, and ready to go now. But because if someone new's come in, they'll not be back. Norwich will not be back for 4 weeks. Then he'll take a time to assess the guys in training. Then he'd probably look at who he can bring in. I just I just see Ida as being a last minute one, and unless we're really, really confident, I don't want it to be a Fraser Forster in the COVID season where we thought we had him, we waited right to the end, then we didn't have him, and then we had to go and panic into something else. So for the record, I would like us to get him. I just think it could be a trickier deal, and I don't want to come down to the last minute and then we end up short.
Right, that's fair. Okay, I see your point. I agree on that. I think the rumour is obviously we're still interested in that Kivsgarten. I'm terrible pronouncing foreign names, but the rumour is that we're still in for him. He's a striker as well. He's someone who Brendan Rodgers was really wanting in the door. So obviously you were saying that the club kibossed a couple of deals in that. I think that maybe looks like it could have been one of them. I think he was touted to being relatively, expensive in terms of Celtic fees, even though it's not fucking expensive for the amount of money we have, and the signing policy we seem to have, but he's one that could possibly come in the door as well if we don't do the Adamida deal. That doesn't get done swiftly. I'm thinking that we get Ida in, but I've been saying I want another striker as well. I want someone who's better than Ida and Kyogo, someone who's going to push the both of them and kind of rise to the top, the cream of the crop, and perform in Champions League and Europe as well. If we drop down, there's no drop downs anymore. So we have to perform in the competition that we're playing in. We can't rely on getting wee results here and there and squeaking by it in the Europa League. We have to have someone who, if we're going to be getting Champions League year upon year upon year with the new system, we have to have someone in there who is in there to make the impact, who's going to step up in the big nights, like you had like your Moussa Dembele and that. Someone who I think has a very similar profile to Adam Ida, big, strong, quick, knows where the back of the net is. And could Adam Ida do it in Europe? I wouldn't put it past him, to be totally honest. We have to just wait and see. But in terms of strikers, we'll have to possibly get a third one as well, because we played with Hearts and Larson and Sutton in the same bloody team, and they all seem to get relative amount of game time, good goals in that as well. So people saying it can't be done, you can only have two strikers. I don't buy that one. But moving on. So talking about the signing policy, guys, this is where the dinosaur thing comes from in the title, and I am kind of sick to death of the signing policy that we have. It was rumoured that we had it was obviously why they sacked Lobel's son. If you had to meet all these parameters where it was like they have to be between 2 to 5 million or under, they have to be 21 years of age or under, they have to have international experience, they have to have so many games under their belt, and they have to come in and just sign and be here for multi-year deals and stuff like that, and you're essentially clipping the wings of the manager and the rest of the guys who are his job is to get these players in by keeping them in these like little boxes and trying to you're reducing the options that you bring in by a monumental amount to try and essentially get these guys in. Now, the way that I look at it, I have a little analogy, as in if you want to the way look at it like a restaurant, essentially. The manager's the chef, the cooks are the rest of the players, and the customer base is essentially, winning the league and the fans and all the rest of it and all the success that comes with that. The guys on the board are the guys that are hired by the restaurant to get in the ingredients and get in the players and stuff like that. The manager is asking for certain ingredients for the recipes to make the meals, entices, customers in and take the restaurant to the next level and get good reviews and stuff like that. Instead of going out and getting the good ingredients to make the meals, they're coming in with fucking Iceland's finest. They're coming in with stuff from, Aldi and stuff like that. We're trying to go for, a Michelin star. Think of that as Europe. Try to get a Michelin star, make these amazing meals, get all this in. You're hampering the manager so much by making these deals just so like uninspiring. They're so low fees. We have all this money coming in, more money than we've ever had, for decades, through Europe, through Champions League, through different avenues, kits, pre-season tournaments, sell-on fees, transfer fees, everything. And we are trying to progress and, go for that Michelin star, at the end of the day. And we're essentially getting clipped by the guys whose job it is to get us ingredients to make these meals. I know it's a bit of a daft analogy, but at the end of the day, all we're really doing now, right, is keeping the local customers happy by getting the league in the bag and getting a cup here or there, getting a treble. That's what we're doing. We're not taking the place to the next level. If you are a chef, you want to take the restaurant to the next level. You want to be seeing the likes of your Gordon Ramsays, your, Marco Pierre Whites. But we're not. We're essentially hampering ourselves to where we want to be by having this signing policy ran by fucking dinosaurs who don't know what they're doing, who keep it. We're paying the same prices for players now that we paid in 2002, 2003. It's literally ridiculous. Okay, it's literally ridiculous. I'm sick of going about it. I get really, really angry about it. Year upon year upon year, because it's the same merry-go-round, it's the same cycle. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sick of it. I don't know what you think about it, Terry, mate. I'm sorry for ranting for ages. I get so wound up about it. They really, really annoy me. I would clear them all out tomorrow if I had a magic wand, and I'm pretty sure you would as well.
My signing policy would be a really simple one. Sign good footballers who are going to make Celtic better now and or in the future. And that's the remit. None of this, what age they have to be. And it's the approach last summer was a really, really clear one. It was target players who we can polish up and possibly make a massive profit on at some point in the future. We've seen that didn't work last summer. There's plenty of examples where we have got players for very low fees and we've gone on to sell them and make massive profits. And that model, when it works, is brilliant. But I think there's a place for the model of bringing in young players who have got massive amounts of potential, who could improve and could go on to do a great job for us or make us lots of money in the future, but also in a parallel approach, bring in players who are first team ready, who are going to go in and improve the starting 11 now. And the way that I would approach it, and it's a wee bit ironic because Mark Lawal, I think he's finished his gardening leave. His garden probably one of the nicest gardens around. He's been off that long working on it. But his role at City, if I'm not mistaken, was a loan manager. And see these guys that we're bringing in who might have potential. I think my approach to that would be, yes, I'm happy to go out and sign lots of these young kids with lots of potential, but we're not then using the Celtic first team for them to audition their talents for what they might bring us in the future. I would be creating a loan system like the big clubs in England do, and they've had criticism for it, that the Chelseas and the Man Cities, but essentially what they're going out is they're going out bringing in the absolute cream of the crop of young potential across the world. They're not firing them into the City team to see if they're any good. They're then farming them out to feeder teams across the world, seeing how they get on. The ones that develop, they can then make a decision. Have they developed enough to come and get into Man City's first team? Or have they developed enough that we can now punt them on and make a massive profit? And I think we can continue with the speculative approach around potential, but we can do it in a different way that means we don't have somebody like Quan going onto the park and just being totally not at the level to play and relying on some of those guys that we signed with potential, actually relying on them to try and get us over the line when they clearly weren't ready to do that. So my approach would be, yes, let's do this. Let's continue with that model, but let's bring in another part to that model where the current manager gets to identify players that he knows will come in and improve the starting 11. And I get the approach where it's not all about giving Rodgers full control on transfers, because as we've already seen, Brendan could go at some point. And what you don't then want is a squad that's completely full of Brendan Rodgers players who then you have to try and adjust to the next manager. So there has to be a strategy in place where the club are actively working on future-proofing Celtic, that even if Brendan goes, we've still got lots of young players that are now, they're signed for Celtic. They might be playing in, I don't know, what's the team we've got a feeder? We've got a feeder in Austria. We've got a few in Scotland. We've got feeders across the world. We had some in Mexico as well. We could have these players signed to contracts with Celtic, but they could be out getting game time, playing twice a week at the level that they're at now, rather than auditioning for game time in our first team in the middle of SPL games that we need to win. So I've probably overcomplicated that, but see what I would be doing. I would be saying, right, okay, whoever the Mark Lowell bit was, I think we should have a loan manager, somebody that's just a loan manager, and they are responsible for looking after all the guys that are out on loan, guys that are showing any promise in the underage. You get them out on loan to one of these teams where they're going to play every single week. See playing in that loan league, no use. See sitting on our bench and getting 5 minutes at the end of one game in every 12, no use. They have to be out. They have to be playing every single week. What I'd be doing is, and I think what will happen this summer is, I think the manager he'll be afforded a little bit of an indulgence. I think there'll be 2-3 players that are brought in that will know that they're going straight into the first team. I certainly hope that's the case. I hope it is. I said it last year. It didn't happen. I'm saying it again this year, and it needs to happen. But see the likes of what I'd be looking to do is see the likes of the young lad at Kilmarnock who's shown potential, Watson, Lennon Miller at Motherwell. Mm-hmm. We should be scooping those lads up, loaning them back to Motherwell and Kilmarnock, saying to the guys, right, this is your plan. Sign them up on 3, 4, whatever you want that to be. Sign them up. Say, right, this is your plan. You'll sign for us. You'll go back. Your first year, you'll go back to an environment that you're really comfortable in. So David Watson, you'll go back to Killie. Lennon Miller, you'll go back to Motherwell. What we'll do then after that season is we'll reassess and we'll see where your development is. At that point, we might look to bring you into the first team squad. We might look to move you to this other team that we're associated with or we're affiliated with. We might loan you back again, but we're not trying to bring people into the first team that you aren't ready to go in, and then leave the manager that he's completely frustrated because he's trying to make it work with players that have been signed for the future who aren't ready to play now. He gets the players that he wants for now, and both of those wheels are spinning, or those plates are spinning at the same time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do think we need to loan players, actually, just players in general who, if they come in, they're possibly not good enough. They're maybe projects for the future. We do need to loan them out to just more Scottish clubs. I'm sick of us seeing loan players out to like teams in, I don't know, Denmark or, Argentina, places like that. Just Burnaby, for lack of a better player, should have been probably loaned out to like a Hibs or a Ross County or just somewhere to see if he can actually cut it in the Scottish game. His loan move out to Brazil.
Should have been loaned out to McDonald's or somewhere.
No, I know he was an absolutely terrible player, but what I'm saying
not that there's anything wrong with working at McDonald's, but he shouldn't have been loaned to any football club. He needs a different
as an example, what I'm saying is more players should be loaned out to clubs. Look at Quan, for example. Now, I'm not saying he's good enough for Celtic, but what I'm saying is that he's loaned out to St Mirren, apparently had a brilliant season, got injured at the end of it, but apparently showed up, played very, very, very well for them. And, an additional bonus that I always look at, after playing in the Scottish League, perform well in the Scottish League, you could potentially come in later on down the line and perform for Celtic, as they also added bonuses. They could potentially perform well against Rangers, take points off them, and without directly being here, help aid Celtic in, the race for the title and gaining more success domestically. Now, Pam, I don't know what your opinion is on, the signing policy. Terry just went on like a 10-minute rant there about the signing policy and about what we should do, what we need to do. I don't know if you differ in any way. I don't know if you, obviously your agreement, if you disagree with us about the signing policy, whether you think it's good or not. Just give me your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't make me overcome with joy, to say the least. I don't like the one-size-fits-all model. I think that's a bit BS, to be honest. We, like Terry said, I think we do have to have a more diverse approach. So we can keep that model that does want the young, cheap player that we can sort of that we can work with for a few years and sell off for a bigger price. I understand why that exists. I understand that helps the business end of it. But we also have to cater to the football aspect of the club, which means that we bring in these experienced, already proven players that can get the immediate job done. You know, it's about having the short-term goal of winning the games, winning the tournaments, winning the trophies. And then there's long-term goals of the cheap investment, you know, investing in the project players and then getting that long-term good reward from it. So yeah, I'm not too happy. I feel like with this with that signing policy, it's a bit too one size fits all. It almost feels like you're shoving a square into a circle. It just doesn't seem to fit. Like you want young, international, and cheap. It just seems it seems like it just doesn't work. I think when a player gets international experience, regardless of their ability, it is going to knock up their price.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to speculate to accumulate, and to adjust for inflation. Things are getting more and more expensive, including football players, as we've seen. And like I said, we're still using 2002 prices for. But what I pay 2002 prices for 2024 players, the two don't marry up. Do you know what I mean? So it's really frustrating, you know. And the frustrating thing to a lot of supporters is, you know, it's there. If teams like Bournemouth, West Ham, you know, Premier League teams, yes. Are they the biggest fish in the pond? No. You know, West Ham and Bournemouth and Brighton and that aren't bigger teams than Celtic, not by a country fucking mile, but yet are beating Celtic and other teams to these players who, granted, comes with the Premier League riches. However, if they're signing a player for £8 million, £9 million, £10 million, who'll come in and make an impact in their season in the Premier League, the question is, why can't we go out and do that? So, moving on, we'll talk about the possible new signings, because there's a wee bit of news recently over the past 24 to 48 hours regarding a new centre-back, potentially, and a new goalkeeper, which I know we'll all be interested in. So the first one, and this is as of the 8th, so today, Bournemouth defender Chris Mepham. He's 26 years old. He's valued at between £6 million to £8 million. He's in the final year of his contract at Bournemouth, so he's going to be out the door pretty swiftly. It's early stages of, you know, interest from Celtic, so no actual formal approach has been made, or no formal contact. He played with Cameron Carter-Vickers when Cameron Carter-Vickers was at Bournemouth, so there's a potential there for a partnership where they are comfortable with each other and they know each other. He's a Wales international. He's got 33 caps. He's got vast Premier League experience. Before the two players who are the Bournemouth centre-backs now, I forget their names, and before he got his injury, he was a first team starter for them. Not last season, but not last season, but season before. So he's a right-footed centre-back with 202 appearances for Bournemouth. He has had 53 clean sheets and has scored 3 goals. So I know it's, thinking about a player for Bournemouth, but to be totally honest, that to me looks like a hell of a lot better option than signing, I don't know, some 18-year-old laddie from, Fiorentina's under 18s to come in and be a potential centre back. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. What do you think about that one, Terry?
Yeah, I can't lie. I haven't seen anything of him. I'm trying to think. Have I ever watched a Bournemouth match? I've probably watched them, hoping to get beat someday when I've had a bet on them for the other team against them. I can't say I know anything about him. If we've done our scouting, if he's the guy we've identified, if we think he's the Carter Vickers, well, I think what we all want is a Carter Vickers clone to partner him on the other side. Here's my thoughts on this. I think across world football, there'll be thousands of players, thousands of centre halves who are as good as Carter Vickers. I mean, Carter Vickers was journeyman player, essentially, just going from loan deal to loan deal to loan deal, where picking up experience, but never really ready to burst through at one of the top English teams. And there'll be players at the same level as him all throughout England, all across Europe, all across the world. We just need to go and get one. And if this guy fits the profile, if we've done our homework on him and he's the one, I think we'll sign one centre back this summer, but I think we need to make sure that it's the right one. And if this guy's been identified and he's going to be the one that partners Carter Vickers, starts every game that he's fit, them two form a partnership, then let's do it. I can't sit here and say I've seen him, I rate him, or anything like that. Funny, I was just thinking, and I know we were chatting yesterday across the Bhoycie Bus chat just about the almost boring links with players who have already previously played for the club and coming back and all this kind of thing. But what I was thinking was one name that somebody who has left that we don't really pine for back, and I would like us to go and get someone who could bring the ball out of defence like Christopher Ayer did and put him in it alongside Carter Vickers, because what we've seen, and even with Starfelt, and my opinion of Starfelt's probably changed since he left, because I was hard on him when he was here, but I was hard on him because
you weren't half, man.
I thought he was poor in possession. I thought his distribution was poor. Well, it was. There was no I thought, but he could defend his box. And the only thing was, as a Celtic player, other than 4 league games a year and the European games, you're not defending your penalty box an awful lot, and you need your centre backs to be able to be comfortable in possession, to be crisp with their passes, to be able to bring the ball out. And if you just remember Ayer was like a Van Dijk light sort of in terms of just, he was that tall, sort of elegant player, nowhere near as good in the air, nowhere near the same level. But I just remember Ayer picking the ball up, and see if there was a space. If you think about Starfelt or Scales is the more recent one, so it's easier to imagine. But teams gave Scales the space because he was ponderous in possession, and he was almost, the further he got up the field, the more nervous he looked. But do you remember Ayer just used to get the ball and just gallop? If there was a space, he just went into it. If people tried to press him, he just went by them. I would like us to get, and I think Carter Vickers does that on the right-hand side to a certain extent. I would like us to get someone who can defend, because for Europe, we're going to need someone who can absolutely, first and foremost, defend. But for the domestic game, we're going to need someone who's comfortable in possession, is able to distribute the ball quickly and accurately, is able to go forward without getting a nosebleed. And if this guy's been identified and he ticks those boxes, then let's do it. If he doesn't tick those boxes, I don't see the point, and move on to someone else.
Yeah, I think when Ayer signed, I think he started his career off actually as a midfielder. So I think when we signed him, was actually kind of like a central midfielder. I think obviously we're making his loan to
just to tie it, that ties into the last conversation. We put him out on loan somewhere where we could see his development.
Look, has worked so many times as well. Him, Ryan Christie, the examples are kind of endless of players getting loaned out to Scottish clubs, developing, having a good season, coming back and making an impact. I mean, you look at Ryan Christie, I think Ryan Christie, he's still no massive, but he was really, really skinny when he went on loan, came back, had a really good loan season, came back, put on loads of muscles and really, really bulked up as well, and started to really, really perform.
Ryan Christie's now a mainstay. Ryan Christie's now a mainstay in the Bournemouth team.
Mm-hmm. Like, and he's a brilliant Bournemouth.
See if Celtic went now to say to try and sign Ryan Christie, you'd be cut at 20 million.
Yeah, and look, he's brilliant for Scotland as well. He's one of the better players in the Scotland team. He tries like a dog. He works so hard as well. He's got that pace and technical ability as well. Despite the fact that he shoots satellites out the sky with his shots, but I think it's a simple science, to be totally honest. You're getting decent players. who have the potential to develop, loan them at the Scottish clubs if they're not, good, get them back and see what they can do. In terms of centre backs as well, Pam, if you're interested in him as well, obviously, if you think he's a decent enough signing, obviously, I don't watch many Bournemouth games. I'm not sitting on YouTube watching Chris Metham highlights or whatever. I've got better things to do with my time, to be totally honest. But yeah, with him as well, you could bring him in. There's also rumours now that Mike Nawrocki, I think Legia Warsaw are wanting him back on loan. But apparently Mike Nawrocki has spoken to him and said that he is he's happy at Celtic and wants to try and get himself into the first team, being a first team player. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the potential competition there's going to be between Mike Nawrocki, Liam Scales, and if we bring in Chris Metham or another defender as well, about the competition that could be there for the partner to Cameron Carter-Vickers in the centre-back position?
Well, I think competition never hurts. If you get more people that can challenge for that first team placement, the better. I don't mean that just to bulk up the squad, but more people who can compete to start for the jersey. I think that's better. You definitely don't want to risk some players become complacent because I think they're going to automatically get the starting position. So that's why I don't mean to reverse back to the striker, but that's why I want Ida and somebody else. Because competition makes you hungry. And when you're hungry, you want to play better and you're going to go for it more. Because complacency is the one thing that will really get us, I believe. So I think the more that can really challenge, the better. Personally, in terms of centre-back, I think we should prioritise a left-back more. I don't fully trust Taylor, to be honest. I think he's just slipped up too many times in big games for him. For me to have him as my regular starting left back, I don't feel good with that. I think we should either target a left-footed centre back or a left back. And I'm kind of the same as Terry. I don't really keep an eye on these people. I don't really keep an eye on transfer news, to be honest, because I think a load of it's just tabloid clickbait to a certain extent. So, but if they have the ability, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it is. Celtic is used in a lot of articles, let's be totally honest, to just drum up interest, get clicks, clickbait, that kind of thing, and, get more people. Because Celtic fans, we're all passionate. We do want to see who the club are signing. If you're like me, I do enjoy a bit of transfer news. I do like seeing who we're getting in before, the eventual sign on the dotted line. So to keep up with that, I do kind of, check Twitter, check, Sky News, all the rest of it to try and keep up. Now, I know what you're saying about Taylor, and to be bear in mind, we loaned out Bernabei, so Greg Taylor was only fit right left back at the bloody club when he was there. If he had got injured, we would have been, absolutely up shit creek without a paddle, and we would have had to rely on putting either Liam Scales or Rio Hatate at left back or something like that, just to try and fill in these gaps. It's another area where a poor signing policy, getting in players who aren't good enough, and players who you clearly didn't do the research on, clearly just got them in because they were cheap. They didn't demand high enough wages, and they came from a relatively okay league where you think they could come in and play up in Scotland. Came in, Bernabei shat the bed. It was absolutely bloody awful. But then had to revert to putting Greg Taylor in, who had one good season in a Celtic jersey under Ange, and since then has kind of flattered to deceive and been relatively innocuous and kind of just bang average. He looks so out of place, I think, in a Celtic jersey and even in, a Scotland jersey as well, because he's having to come on and make a wee sub appearances here or there, mostly just because it's friendlies. But I think he just looks so out of place. I don't have anything against him personally. None of us do. Not even Liam the Puck that Wall to really has an axe to grind against Greg Taylor. I feel there's not a show goes by that he's not on, but he doesn't, give wee Greg a piece of his mind. But yeah, moving on from that, we are going to talk about the possible replacement for Joe Hart. And the man is Peter Vindal Jensen. So this is where the Danish thing comes into it from the title. He is a 26-year-old Danish goalkeeper who has just about to sign permanently to Sparta Prague after a loan spell at AZ Alkmaar. So Celtic are apparently locked in negotiations. This is the key thing. They're apparently locked in negotiations. He's just been signed from AZ Alkmaar onto Sparta Prague. He played there last season. He made 47 appearances, clipped 15 clean sheets. He's 6'4" in height, so he's a big boy, since he can command his box. will possibly have to pay a fee of around £78 million to get him in, because as I've just said, he is about to sign on the 1st of July for Sparta Prague, because they had an obligation to buy him. Now, a lot of people will probably think that, we can't go and sign him because he's just signed for Sparta Prague. That's not how it works. This isn't FIFA or Football Manager where there's wee clauses and rules saying you can't sign a player because they just signed for another club. No. If he's signed and he's willing to come and Sparta Prague are willing to take our money, you think you have to try and go in for it, because apparently he's been scouted and Celtic are very, very, very interested in him. He won the league and the cup last season with Sparta Prague, so he's got success under his belt. He's also won a double last season. He also, and this is interesting, has Europa League and Champions League experience. So I think Sparta Prague got into the last 16 of the Europa League last season. They were put out by Liverpool. So to me, this looks like the most concrete link we've had with a goalkeeper since Joe Hart has decided to announce retirement. He has now left Celtic, because all the rest of them were kind of hearsay about, the keeper from Wolfsburg, the one at Man United, all these other ones, the guy from Turkey at Trabzonspor. They were all they were a bit of a nothing burger, to be totally honest. They were absolutely nothing, not a shush burger, a nothing burger. There were nothing there. There was no real total concrete links. But this is apparently something that Celtic are going to be going ahead with and trying to get him in the door. Now, the fee, I think, Sparta Prague have paid AZ Alkmaar is around £3 million to £4 million. So I think Celtic personally will have to at least double that if they are really wanting him in. So that could be around £6, £7, £8 million to get him in. So what do you think, guys? Do you think that this would be something worth going down? Terry, you go first.
Again, not seen him. My only thoughts would be, we've known Joe Hart. We know what age he is. We knew that this would probably be his last season. If this guy was identified early as the replacement, why is somebody else signing him in a week's time? Why do we not get that done in January? This is the one that interests me the most, this goalkeeper one, because this is one that we have to get one, and we've known about this. We've known from the moment we signed Joe Hart that we needed a Joe Hart replacement because of his age. So we've had 3 years. We've had 3 years to get this one right. And I know you've said that all the other names that were mentioned, they all fizzled out. This one could fizzle out as well, Conor, because there were strong links with the guy that's actually going to be keeping goals for Belgium and in the Euros, and then just the next day they were gone. Then there was a Turkish guy. The next day they were gone. Now this one's emerged in the last couple of days. As you say, there seems to be a bit more legs in this one, but this one could fizzle out as well. Let's see what happens. We have to get this one right, and this is the one move in the summer that I'm really, really keen to see where we end up, because we've had a lot of time to get this one right. I suppose the one that a lot of Celtic fans want, and that, to be fair, the rumors don't go away, is the Kelleher one. Let's be clear. We won't be able to go and buy Keithan Kelleher, but there is one scenario where we could get him, and that would be if Liverpool genuinely think that he is good enough to be their next number one after Alisson, and they're prepared to loan him to Celtic for 1 year, 2 years, with the view to them come back and take that number one jersey. And the reason they would choose Celtic over the other teams in the English Premiership would be that he wouldn't be able to give any of those teams an advantage in the league that they're in. It's a long shot, but it's the only avenue that I could see that one happen. It's not an impossibility. The only thing I see around that is this guy's not a kid anymore. This lad's 25, and I think Liverpool probably will just decide he's ready to play now or he's not. But there's possibly that scenario where, do you know what? This guy is our next keeper, He's just not as good as Alisson, who, after all, is a Brazilian international. There's a little bit of me thinks just the reason that one hasn't gone away is because there is still a small chance that something could work out there. But we've got to get this one right. See if we end up with another disaster between the sticks after the amount of time we've had to plan and prep this and make sure we get the right one. If it's going to be this guy that's a Sparta Prague, then brilliant. It would be ironic that we've been Jack Hendry'd again. Do you remember we sold Jack Hendry for like $1 million and then they pumped it the next day for 10 million? It would kind of be us getting caught at that again. But again, it's the same as Mepham. If the research has been done and this guy has got what we need and he comes in, happy days. But this has to be sorted. Yeah, I totally agree with James's point. Should have been sorted months ago. But even though Hart announced 3 months ago he was gone, he would have made the club aware at the start of the season. The club would have known. And as I say, when you bring in a goalkeeper of that age, you know your planning starts the minute you bring him in because of this one we have to get right. It's interesting. I'm excited about it. I just hope we get it right.
I know. You can tell your face you're excited, Terry, but you look so depressed, man. Get yourself a whiskey in you. Get off that cola. Get on the
It's
whiskey.
Not cola. It's Madry.
I forgot. Well, it's basically cola to you, mate. It's basically cola to you, mate. Basically a soft drink. So. Anyway, Pam, if do you think that this obviously is an avenue that we should potentially be going down? Obviously, I think he's a good age. I think with him, I was really wanting the boy at Wolfsburg, that Colin Castells, but he is now away by the looks of it. He's been lured away by the riches of Saudi Arabia. So I think the potential for that is, is completely done. But this looks like it's got legs in it. Looks quite concrete. If they've done their scouting, I think it's a good one. But I don't know. What do you think about it? Or do you think we should maybe be more looking to go down the getting Kelleher on loan kind of angle? I don't know. What do you think?
Firstly, I'm pretty sure Kelleher won't happen. I think if there was a time where it was going to happen, it was going to be last summer when he was probably a little bit more accessible and not as cemented in the Liverpool team. I think now it's just definitely not going to happen. I like the sound of this new goalkeeper. I'm similar to Terry. I have not seen anything of him, so I can't talk about his ability. But from what you said and the fact that Celtic are actually actively participating in talks for him, it's a good sign. But my gut, and I could be wrong with this, but my gut saying that Celtic have not been proactive enough in sort of poaching him over to Celtic. If he signed a contract 2 weeks ago, for me, that is a red flag that this might fall through. But you also never know. It's, sports transfers in general can be quite crazy and crazy stuff happens towards the end of it. But in terms of a goalie, this is a must address position. So I'd rather we sort somebody out sooner rather than later. I wish going straight into this transfer window, Celtic had their list of potential goalies and they were just going at them right from the start so that they could address this very early on. But my gut is saying that they haven't been proactive enough. And I think that shows through this goalie the fact that he's already signed a contract a couple of weeks ago. I'm not too happy about it, but I could be wrong as well. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, I think the thing is he had to sign the contract because it was an obligation to buy, obviously. But the thing is, the day after Joe Hart announces his retirement, the Celtic should have been on the phone to people and looking and scouting and send the guys out across Europe and across the world to say, go scout him, go have a look. Because he is leaving as soon as that final whistle was blown after this, the season, the final game of the season, whether that was going to be the Scottish Cup or the league. The signing policy, the proactiveness, now this is obviously all we can gauge from it. We don't personally know how proactive Celtic are in terms of going for transfers and that. I think Celtic, more than a lot of it, they're very, very secretive. They're very quiet. They don't let people kind of in on what they're doing and when they go and scout guys. And when they leak it only to like one or two journalists of that. Even guys like Fabrizio Romano don't even really talk about us. Who knows everything about every club in the world in terms of signing transfers. whether that's to do with we're very, very secretive, or whether Pam is saying we're just very, very late to the game, we're just very, very, lackadaisical, and just leaving it to, last gas saloon to get these guys in. Now, it's probably a mixture of both, more so the latter there, because as we've seen previous windows, the last window, the window before, that one, we leave it so late, we just drag transfers out, we just wait to the last minute, it's became a running joke online as well with a lot of the fans, it's like, say, we're needing a new goalkeeper, then it's like on the last day of the transfer window at 11:59 p.m. Congratulations, Celtic delighted to announce Scott Bain on his new 10-year contract extension or something like that. It's it is a running joke at this point, and it's not good for us, to be totally honest, in terms of your mental capacity, looking at being excited for signings and that, because if you can almost accurately predict the route that Celtic are going to go down, that's never good. You shouldn't be able to predict the kind of signings that a club's going to make next. You shouldn't be able to predict the level or the price or the nationality even of players coming in. You should be completely surprised. It should be a joyous celebration of a new player coming in, and instead of saying, "Oh, I wonder what cheap option from the Bulgarian league we're going to get in next," essentially. But yeah, so moving on from
the last comment, just before you do move on, the last comment you'd up there, I can't remember who it was who put the comment up, but they were saying, would Kelleher be linked if he wasn't Irish? There is that obvious lazy link, but there's a slightly more concrete link in that Kelleher's older brother was at Celtic for 4 years as a kid. So his brother Fakerow was at Celtic. So Celtic would have some level of relationship with the Kelleher family. So it just gives me a little bit of hope that we could potentially get someone of that caliber. Again, probably because of that sort of Celtic Ireland link, but it's a little bit more concrete than just his nationality. His brother was there for 4 years. He's still a professional footballer. He plays lower level English league, Colchester, I think it is. But no, just come back to say whoever the goalkeeper is, this one's got to be right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, to be honest, he's probably more than likely grew up a bit of a Celtic fan as well. So
what's funny? The Liam Fox. It's not Liam Fox. Liam Kelly. Liam Kelly. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny now that the headlines are that we've been gazumped by Rangers for Liam Kelly? That was a good deal. He was obviously always going to Rangers. Then somebody decided that they would
see at the end of the day, right? See if Rangers want to gazump us to the worst goalie in the fucking league, they can go right ahead. I do not care one iota. He can go to Rangers and be there.
Here's the thing: he's gone to the Euros, mate.
Exactly, and they're going to cut Craig Gordon as well. You know what I mean? They're going to keep Liam Kelly, who's one of the worst goalies.
Gordon was dropped.
I know he's been sorry. I've seen the squad this one. He's been dropped. So they've dropped Craig Gordon, who, granted, he came on last night. Didn't look great. He just batted for a horrible injury. But you're going to keep Liam Kelly in, who statistically was the worst fucking goalie in the league. You know what I mean? It makes no sense to me. The only reason he's still in that squad is because he's getting linked with Rangers, or more likely be the Rangers goalkeeper at the start of the season. That's the only reason he's in that squad, to keep the teddy bears happy and something Brighton, because he dropped John Suter. But yeah, moving on. So we're going to move on to a wee bit of a fun time now, because we've been getting a bit serious for the last hour. We'll do this for the last 10 or so minutes, and then I'll let you guys get away, okay? So, what, guys, has been your moment of the season? I'm going to go around the room, because we can look back on it now, just have a wee bit of a wrap-up, because, I feel like everything's kind of been a million miles an hour. We're in the Scottish Cup, Joe Hart retiring, needing players in. We've not really had time to sit back, reflect, digest, and, go over what was actually a pretty good and, enjoyable roller coaster of a season. So Terry, we'll start with you, big man.
You're putting me on the spot a little bit. Let me think. Moment of the season.
You've had an hour to think about it. I told you before we came on. Terry, come on now. Come on.
I know you did. Moment of the season. Let me think. Kyogo's goal at the New Year game. I just remember where I was at, what I was doing. I was sitting watching the game, and then I just was totally taken aback when that ball hit the net. I just thought, oh my God, this is just amazing. I wasn't expecting it. You can see he's going to shoot, and I'm thinking, why is he shooting? And the next thing, the ball's in the postage stamp, and that's my moment of the season. I just know how I felt. The joy that brought to me at that moment, amazing. And probably a close second would be then the final whistle in the last league game against Rangers, when you just knew the league was done. One of the hardest leagues in my 46 and a half, nearly 47 years, one of the hardest leagues to win, knowing that moment was done. But that Kyogo moment just was very, very special in a split second.
Yeah. Okay. So Pam, what about you? What was your favourite moment of the season?
It's been a season of ups and downs. There's been a lot of great highs, but a lot of downs as well. I think for me, the most poignant moment of the season, in my opinion, was Ida's penalties against Hibs.
I was going to say the same thing. I was actually going to be my next one. Right, you take it away, all right? Don't worry about it.
I think, the penalties were great, but it was more about my shift in emotion. Because I was quite despondent, low hope. I thought, God, this is slipping away from us. But I think it was then where I thought, right, we have somebody who could potentially get us out of jail here, because that's what it felt like. And then another, probably my second most was probably the late winner at Motherwell.
Matt O'Reilly's late winner, or was it Adams?
I think, yes.
Matt O'Reilly's one, yeah, that was. I was funny enough that I was actually in work that day, so at my old job, I managed to watch it. Don't worry, I watched it sneakily on my phone. But I was waiting on finishing work, and it was just winding up to the end of the game, and we had got the goal, obviously, and Motherwell had just scored, and my signal had kind of died, and the what's the website? That totally legal website where you can watch games online. I forget, but I watched that, and I cut out after another score. I'm like, oh my God, we've lost. I'm like, oh my God, we've actually lost. And I went on to check the scores on my phone, and I went 2-1 Celtic. I went, that can't be right. I mean, that is absolutely wrong. So that cannot be right. We've just scored after they've just equalised. I said, no way, that thing's playing up. Then I get my Twitter notifications rolling through, and it took everything within myself to run a bit of work going absolutely bloody daft, because it was just such a great moment to just, and I'm obviously watching the game where you're just like, that kind of summed up the season that Matt O'Reilly would eventually have, him stepping up to the plate and scoring big goals. Obviously, I was the same with the one at Easter Road. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers getting rid of the Easter Road to-do, and having the Adam Ida had just come into the club at that point. Let's not forget, he had kind of just stepped in the door, and there was all this expectation on him. He knew that he was not, necessarily favoured by the support because of the window we had just had.
Yeah.
And for him to step up and take those two penalties, one at the start and one at the very death of the game to win the game, shows unbelievable bollocks and unbelievable heart to go and do that. And I really, whatever he goes on to do, and also winning the Scottish Cup final as well was amazing. Whatever he goes on to do, whether he joins Celtic or whether he doesn't, I think he'll kind of be remembered for all time for the short but massively significant impact he made in such a short spell. And I wish him all the best if he doesn't join.
Conor, he's a must sign. He's a must sign.
You come around.
I knew you come around. Only took me earlier than 10 minutes. But yeah, so last 2 wee points. What, guys? So this is obviously Brendan Rodgers comes back in the door. Start of the season, he's absolutely box office and has been throughout the whole season. What's your favourite Brendan Rodgers moment or Brendan Rodgers ism, as it were? Terry, you go first, mate.
The ism is just the constant use of the same words in every single interview. My wife's not really interested in football, but when I'm playing the Rodgers press conferences, I start to do an impression of him and just keep using the same words, and then he uses those words and she's just sitting nodding her head like it's the intensity, the mentality, the tenacity, all of those words. He just keep getting rolled out every single interview, and they sound great with his broad Ballymena accent. I don't have a specific favourite Rodgers moment of the season, but I do have a favourite Rodgers trend, and that is how he was able to manage those 5 games against Rangers. Because despite how poor we were in some games against some of the teams that we should have been and have been wiping the floor with, and I was very, very critical of Rodgers, and I think it was warranted. I think it was justified. Myself and Bhoycie, there was the day I came on, the day we lost the Hearts game. Bhoycie asked me for my reaction. I just said, Terminado, gone, get him out of there. He just looked. There was times, and I know everything's turned out brilliant and happy days. Nobody's happier than me, but there was times I was really questioning the manager, and I think I was right to. There was days he was standing there with his hands in his pockets, his head down, chewing gum. Things were going wrong on the pitch, and his body language wasn't good. You know, he looked as if he didn't know what to do. We remembered the Brendan, and this is the thing sometimes as well. Whenever people are talking about former players that might come back, you're expecting them to come back at the level that they were whenever they were at Celtic, and most of the time we'll get players back again when they're not at that level anymore. They're on the downward spiral, and I was worried that we got a manager who was on the downward spiral. And there definitely were times where I'm going, right, well, the first time you were here, everything you touched went to gold. We went down to 10 men, no problem, I'll sort that. Odson Edward, you go on and score the winner. But there were times where he was just, as I said, standing there, head down, chewing the gum, and you're going, fucking do something here, man, do something. You're the one elite football person that we've brought to the club. Yeah, we might have signed 9 players who weren't very good and brought them in, but you're the one element who is on a different level to anything else in Scotland. What are you doing here? Lift your head, watch the game, make a decision, bring somebody on, change formation, do something. And there were lots and lots of those days where he looked disinterested. He looked as if he didn't know what to do. And I genuinely felt the only way we had a chance of winning the league was to punt him and get somebody else in for the last 2 or 3 months. There were times, and it'll all be forgotten, and the history books won't say Brendan looked as if he was clueless at times, but there were times where he did. However, we're not talking about the moments where we doubted him. We're talking about the moments, favourite moments, and my favourite moments were how, despite all those dark days, despite all those days where it looked as if we might have got a diet version of the manager that we previously had, all those times I questioned him and thought the only option here is to punt him and bring somebody else in. My favourite moments were those 5 games against Rangers where something happened. It just felt he stood up in those moments, and I felt confident that we had a man who knew how to deal with those games, knew how to get the results in those games. Remember the first one? Remember the trepidation that everyone had going into that game? We were at the bare bones. This guy, Liam Scales, was going to have to be brought in. We're going to have to be relying on this guy. Little did we know at that point he was going to then become a mainstay. Brendan Rodgers, how he dealt with those 5 games was the difference in us having a successful season and us having an unthinkable season. And my favourite moments were how he managed those games, and long may it continue.
I agree with you, mate. It was pretty good. What about you, Pam? What do you think?
Not necessarily football related, but my favourite Brendan moment of this season is when he finally told off the press for all the flack they were giving him the past season. Because you have to remember, Brendan's been through the ringer with the media this season. And not just because of the usual, Sevco come back, all that build-up. But there was, the debacle with the Green Brigade, the board, him not really knowing his best starting 11 for most of the season, let's be real. And that would take a toll on you after a while. But it felt very like cathartic almost in a way. Like it was a big release when he started calling them out and, being like, oh, F you for calling me a novice or whatever. I thought for me, that was my favorite Brendan moment. Because I'm like, yes, you're standing up to them, but you're also walking the walk before you're talking the talk. And that's something I have immense respect for.
That's a cracking one from James as well, because no matter how despondent I felt that day of the Hearts game, to see your manager standing there and saying what you were thinking, that doesn't happen. And usually, that's not usually Brendan, because he's usually so tactful in terms of what he says, and he's usually so respectful to other managers, to officials, and all of that. But when he came out that day, I almost felt, do you know what? He's fighting here.
There's a spark in him.
Yeah, like, honestly, I think, there was certain moments this season you think maybe the fire inside Brendan had dwindled a wee bit. Then there was moments like that, like the bits Terry said in the games against Rangers, and like Pam said.
What was your favourite, Conor?
I'll tell you in a minute. In the media conference where he showed, he's still got it there. One of my favourite moments was like he was talking about he says, like, remember the interview where they said, like, it says, I've played against 5 Rangers managers in my time here. He goes, and every time you said Rangers were coming, every time you said they were coming, and he's still dealt with them. And he's done it this season again. Clement has looked largely at the end of the season like a complete myth. He's got a worse record against Celtic than fucking Michael Beale. All he's done is win a League Cup against the shoddy Aberdeen side, which Michael Beale essentially set up for him before he even came in the door as well. And he's dropped so many points in so many important games, and even did it in the last game of the season as well against Hearts, who couldn't buy a game against Rangers, to be totally honest. This season they were that shoddy against them, unsurprisingly, because where their loyalties lie. But Brendan Rodgers, once again, coming out, calling out the media, saying yous are bigging him up. He's doing it every single season, and yet the same old story repeats itself. As in, we fucking pump Rangers. I come in and I beat Rangers. It's what he's doing. It's what he's built his essential Celtic legacy on, and what I think he'll continue to do. So moving on from that, literally just before we finish up, guys, you will have one wee minute to just predict one thing you think will happen next season, and that'll be us today, okay? So predict one thing you could potentially see happening next season. So we'll go around the houses. Right, Terry, you go first, mate.
Right. I'll play the rebel here. I don't want to play that game, but I will predict one thing that I think will happen. 10 in a row. I think we do 10 in a row from here. See if the board want this enough. And what I mean by that is, if they from a business perspective are happy for Celtic complete dominance, and that might mean a little bit of disinterest, because when one team's dominating, people start to lose interest, and some Celtic fans will lose interest, and that might mean the less revenue at the shop or something. I don't know. But if the Celtic board want this enough, I genuinely think we've got another chance here. And I felt this the last time. I felt we had a great chance of 10 in a row the last time. I actually did a contact at one of the bookies and got a bet on, and we got to 9, obviously. I think we can go and do this. I was actually thinking it from last season. I think if the Celtic board want this enough, we can do 10 in a row. We're now on 3. We can do another 7 here. See the Rangers team that come up against next season. They'll find money from somewhere. They'll be under the couch. They'll be everywhere. They'll get money to have another go at it. But as each year goes by, if we continue to dominate, I think they start to get weaker. And I seen a little clip earlier, actually, and I don't know where it was. It's actually brilliant, because I just have wall-to-wall Celtic contact. Like, if I get a spare minute, I just go on my phone, put Celtic into YouTube, and you get guys like ourselves who are just wanting to come on and talk about Celtic. I watch every single one of them. Fair play to every one of them. But I don't know what this was. It was a clip. It was just a clip in Neil Lennon, and he was talking about the COVID season, and he was talking about how he. I know he gets a bit of criticism for the whole thing, but he was saying, yeah, it feels to him as if it's his fault. Everything was his fault. He just said there was so many things going on that were beyond people's control, that were so different, so alien to anything that anybody had ever had to deal with in life. And there could be a scenario here, and Rangers fans can clip me all they want. They love clipping me and Bhoycie and putting us up and making us look stupid whenever Celtic can beat. But somebody can clip me all they want. I'm going to sit here now. I think we'll do 10 in a row from here. And do you imagine if we did. And the only season we didn't get it was the COVID season.
But that would increase the size.
I'm not just saying it as a blind, loyal Celtic fan. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the economics of it. I'm looking at everything.
Well, that would increase the size of the asterisk, right? The asterisk, the big fuck off asterisk next to that title, the size of it would increase exponentially if we were to go and do 10 in a row from here. It's funny you said that.
Everything's in place for it, Conor. Everything's in place for it.
I know, exactly, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, we're in such a clear financial position as well. They're, scraping and clawing and going for the money behind the back of the couch and breaking open their, their wee red, white and blue piggy banks to try and get, players in the door and stuff like that to try and compete, try and catch up with us. We could, if we potentially do this season, go ahead and, actually invest properly, actually give the manager the proper backing and continue to do it for as long as he is here. We will just really go back to and continue to do what we've been doing for so long, as in dominating Scottish football and putting our foot on the throats of Rangers essentially, and probably just squeezing out whatever life they hope to have in terms of being moderately successful. But a successful Rangers, I think in the next 10, 20 years will be winning the odd cup. I think we will just continue to absolutely dominate the country like we have done for the majority of the decades since, bar the 90s. So, yeah, I think...
we need Pam's prediction for next season.
We need Pam as well. Just about to come on to that. So, Pam, what do you think could potentially happen next season or following on from that, the next season after that, one after that, one after that?
I think mine's going to be a little bit more reserved in comparison. I'm going to focus on Europe. I think we can win definitely one match in Europe, maybe two.
Oh, don't get crazy here, geez. Oh,
I know. I have to keep reserved too. No, I think we can make a bit more headway. I think our last campaign we had definitely some promise. We definitely built up more than the previous year. So hopefully we can finally get a victory now. That'll be lovely.
The new format's kind of it's gripped me a little bit. You're going to be playing against 8 different teams. That makes the draw a wee bit more exciting than it even normally is. I'll be interested to see how this plays out. And I could be wrong on this, but you've only got to be better than 8 teams in the whole thing to get through to the next phase.
Oh,
I think so. Yep,
I think so.
I think you're right.
It's one big league, and I think 8 teams will drop out. It might be slightly more than that, but again, with everything, with all of these Champions League, and it doesn't always play out like this because we thought we had a favourable draw last year, but it's very, very much draw dependent. But if you could get what I would like from the Champions League, I would like us to be really competitive in our home matches, no matter who we draw, and a bit better than we have been in our away matches. I'd settle for that. And
right. Well, before you settle,
2 wins and a point or a draw or whatever, happy days.
Right, before we wrap up, I'm going to just make a prediction here. I think next season we win a treble and we get to knockout stages of the Champions League. That is my, do you know what? Quarterfinals of the Champions League and a treble next season. And, many pints of Huntiers shall be shared across Glasgow. So I hope you've enjoyed the show, guys. Big thank you to Terry and to Pam as well for joining me on this glorious Saturday afternoon. I hope you've all enjoyed. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, slag my lack of hair. Be sure to jump on, use the code BUSTY1888 at piesports.com and become a Bhoycie Bus member if you are so inclined. We'll probably see you next week. Maybe not, but I'll be back in the carpool if you want more of me. Very big guys. Thank you very much. Have a lovely afternoon and we'll see you later, okay? Bye.
Cheers. Bye.